So I wanted to kind of go through my sleep system a little bit with you guys. I've shown it in other videos, but I haven't shown it necessarily in detail very well. You know, the first part of the sleep system, I'm using the cot on this particular trip. But even if I'm not using the cot, I'm always using this Thermarest X-Therm pad. So that provides the insulation underneath me, you know, from the ground, or in this case from any sort of convective airflow underneath me. And then I prefer to use quilts, in part because I use them a lot in the summer when I'm hammock camping, or if I'm doing more ultralight, you know, or lightweight type backpacking. So the first piece that I have is this is an Enlightened Equipment top quilt, and it's a 20-degree top quilt. And what I can do with it is actually cinch up and zip up the foot box. So while this section here is open, the foot box is closed. And then from there I've got a synthetic top quilt that I zip up, but I leave the foot box section open so I can slip this through it and cover kind of my feet that way. I choose to use the synthetic on top, that way if I do get moisture or anything coming on top of the bag from, you know, frost or that might slough off of the tent, or if I'm sleeping outside in the hammock, just moisture that might get on there. I've got that synthetic bag to kind of act as the first layer, and so hopefully there's less moisture then that gets onto that down. So what I do from here is that this bag here has these tabs, and it's got straps that you can clip in. Well, I also have those similar straps on this particular bag. So what I end up doing is I've got just a piece of shock cord, and I connect it to one of these tabs, and I run it through this other tab. And then that way these two bags essentially stay together. So as they move, you know, they're connected by this. And now this particular strap runs underneath my Thermarest pad, and I will put it, you know, through the two tabs on the far side, and then I've just got a quick lock, and I will just attach a quick lock there, and so that keeps it connected. So then my pad is essentially running underneath this particular string, and it keeps it down on my side. And for this particular trip it didn't get crazy cold, but it really did a good job of keeping the sides of these two bags, you know, over my shoulders and around me. And then I typically sleep with a couple of layers on, usually kind of my base layers, and then sometimes in this trip I had a puffy jacket that could come up over my head. I had the down cap, and I had some down pants that I wore the first night, but it was actually a little bit too warm, so I took those off the second night. And then just lastly, I have just a little, this is a Wiggy's pillow. I mean, it's just a tiny little travel pillow type thing. So yeah, this setup has been really versatile. In the summertime I can take one or the other of these bags. In Alaska I took just the synthetic bag because it's pretty lightweight, and it was warm enough when I would go on my hunts, kind of in the fall time, and this, you know, this worked well enough just to have that synthetic bag, and that way if it got wet at all I could dry it out a little bit easier. But that's the setup that I went with. Like I said, I showed it in the bike camping, bike packing camping video that we did. the sub 24 kind of overnight ride. But I was filming by myself there with limited equipment, so I didn't do a very thorough job of explaining kind of what was going on with that system. So hopefully this this showed you a little bit better in detail. Again, the nice thing is I can unzip all of these if they do end up getting wet or anything, and open them wide up and hang them in the tent, and if we're heating things in there, they should dry out pretty well. But the key to using something like this, you really do need a good pad. So this was an expensive pad, the Neo Air X-Therm, but it really has come in handy and allowed me to go much lighter weight with these two particular bags, knowing that I've got good insulation underneath me, and I've really never gotten cold from this particular setup. And I've used this in a hammock down to about 10, maybe 15 below, and done pretty well with it. So I also will use a set of booties in there, just to make sure, because sometimes there is a little bit of air that can escape just here right at the end where it cinches up. But I use the booties. Then I've got just the down puffy metal wear. And then I've got a set of the Kuyu down pants, and those that really kind of rounds out this particular setup, and I can take this down pretty darn cold.